Hello, I am functioning on 4 to 5 hours sleep, but Netflix held an event yesterday where they revealed the first look at their new Avatar: The Last Airbender series, and I have a duty to you, my beloved viewer, to talk about it, to show you what it might mean. I've got my Avatar shirt on, I really love this one, and we have 4 images of our 4 beloved main characters, Katara, Aang, Zuko, and Sokka, and we have a teaser trailer. Sorry for the random background and terrible lighting, I'm just throwing this together and I'm exhausted. We'll watch the trailer a bit later because there's not that much shown in it, but we do have this image of Aang, alright, the Avatar. And they've actually got color at last, and people who actually look like their characters. It is a step up for sure. And it's hard to see, but Aang's tattoo actually does have detailing built into it, and I actually like this, for the record. I think this is the right creative decision. Forcing the blocky colors of animation into live action is partly why anime and cartoon live action adaptations tend to look pretty goofy at times. So I think they're really trying to strike this balance between the authenticity and what it would actually look like. Because you look at tattoos, like traditional cultural tattoos, and they are so often full of details. Absolutely chock full of them, even if they do come in bolder colors. And it's really hard when you're adapting, you know, animated features, because the colors are often so saturated that they don't look very natural in live action. And so you end up with kind of this dilemma where you dilute the colors and you make them duller and look like more realistic or whatever. And then people complain because it's, you know, it doesn't look like the lively kind of culture and feel of the cartoon, which is so important. But on the other hand, you know, you run this kind of like weird, uncanny risk of like people going, it's kind of odd to look at. And I've seen people talk about like Aang's arrow tattoos, cheat tattoos, kind of looking a bit odd. But I gotta be honest, you look around, there are monks in the real world who dress in colors as vivid as these. Like these you know, you look at religious uniforms, and this is in a way kind of what the uniform is, what Aang's costume is based on. You know, they have these really bright colors. So I'm not at all jarred by that. I actually think he looks pretty good, to be honest. Now, I understand any skepticism towards the Netflix series. We have all been uniquely traumatized by the first attempt at bringing this to the screen, the film which shall not be named. I get that. I totally do. You know, but I have watched the cast and crew talk about their intense love for the series and bringing it to life, and I trust in that. I want to trust in that, you know. And because I do believe people who kind of care about the stories that they're adapting tend to do it a lot better. And now, of course, the people loving the story, an actor loving the story, does not necessarily mean that it's going to be done the way that you hope it will, not by any means, especially because a lot of the decisions made by corporate executives far up and beyond and invisible than you and I will ever see. But that is an asset. I like that. I've liked the passion and understanding that has been reflected in a lot of the media that I've seen around it. And so, like, when you look at Aang, you can see the attention to detail, like down to his staff looking just exactly like the staff is in the series. And again, I know I'm treading on thin ice here because I talk about this in like my big video on the Last Airbender film, which is that like M. Night Shyamalan's the film that shall not be named. In the film that shall not be named, there's like there's a weird amount of accuracy to like the visual aesthetic of some of the things in the series, even though it's just an abomination, right? So simply something being like, oh yeah, I can see that was in the series. It's just the same. It's exactly the same. They're following the story. Like, it's not necessarily a great indication, but I do like that, you know, Aang's costume seems to be really faithful. And yeah, so that's good. We've also got a photo of Katara, and I really, really like the actress that they've picked for her. She's got the hair loopies. I love the vibrant. I like the vibrant colors. I'm glad that they went for the vibrant colors. You need to sort of lean into the unrealism of it to some extent, you know. You need to recognize that this does not take place in the same reality that we occupy. And that comes out in how characters move and talk and how they fight and their capabilities and stuff like that. It's hard to sort of strike that balance, but part of that is like the clothes, and I really like what they've done. I think it's better to lean into the aesthetic of a series probably than to try and strip it away to make it more palatable. But it is risky when you're adapting animated series. And we've seen, anime films just bomb time after time.
Sounds to me like blackmail.
You're damn right it is, because, Jet, you are black and you are male.
There was a trailer for One Piece. I don't know One Piece, but I watched the trailer and it's interesting looking. I'll say that much. If you've watched One Piece, let me know. Was that a good trailer? I don't even know. Tell me down below. We also have Zuko. Now, this is pretty clearly like his opening episode armor, because he only wears, like, he wears like the helmet and all of the padding and stuff for like most of the first season, but he does end up losing it for kind of like the latter half quite often. But I really love the Fire Nation insignia designs on the pauldrons, on his shoulders. I really like how his helmet is designed. It's just, yeah, no, that is cool. It's distinct and visually striking and similar to the series, but not identical. It's got kind of this Mongolian influence, which I think is really, really cool. Now, the scar. What do you think of the scar? Famously, the scar is basically invisible in the Abomination film that shall not be named, right? Here, it's quite visible. And again, this is one of those stylistic things. It's really hard to bring together this like perfectly lined scar, because scars don't look like that. They're not going to look like that. When that was like a drawing thing, because people were drawing it that way in 2D, it's harder to do a gradient on that sort of, because skin didn't have the detail that we have in live action. But here, I like how, let me zoom in. I like how dark it is. I like that it's very visually striking. I think it fits really, really nicely. And of course, again, the casting, really, really good. Now, the one that people have raised the most issue with is Sokka, right? Now, Sokka, apparently people don't like his costume as much. I will agree. Sokka's is harder for me to get behind, and I'm not necessarily sure why. I like the pauldrons. I like kind of the the color theme of it, but Sokka is really hard to do, and I don't know if Ian Owsley, the guy that they cast for it, was necessarily the right decision. I think that they nailed most other people, but he's a lot shiftier, I think, on that decision. We'll have to see how he acts it in the series. Also, with Katara, I'm pretty sure that's the moment where they're in the boat and she's elevating that little bit of water with the fish in it, and then Sokka pokes it and stuff like that. It's got that same bit of image. It's not magic, it's water bending. It's magic. An important art to our people. In the background of Sokka's photo, we see this water tribe symbol and what looks like giant like tusks that have been set up in a fence. I don't think I remember seeing like a fence of tusks in the Southern Water Tribe. My bet is that they're doing it slightly differently, because you can also see in Aang's photo that the backdrop has like a little bit of a different design to what we see in the Southern Water Tribe. And that's fine, I'm happy for them to kind of customize that sort of thing. But what do you think? What do you think about the casting? What do you think about the costumes? Because if I was to rank them, I would say I like Zuko's the most, then Aang's, then Katara's, then Sokka's. Also, the number one Avatar fan, Willow here, has come to join the discussion. Do you have anything to say about the teaser? No, nothing to say about the teaser. Oh, that's okay. She's alright. She's a pillow hound. Mixture of those two things. But we did also get a teaser trailer, which we can watch now, or if we don't watch it now, it's because the copyright stopped me from sharing it with you. It doesn't really show us anything, it just shows us like flashing through the elemental symbols, and maybe gives us kind of a hint as to how they're going to be animating, the different elements. I think I kind of like the feel of it so far. It's really hard to do kind of like really good CGI, where the CGI is deeply correlated with like people interacting with it. Like, we're really good in films with like background CGI, you know, stuff in the background, battlefields, because you can sort of hide a lot of the flaws under the messiness of it and the distance of it. But even now, you look at like, if you look at like when humans are having to interact with things that are not actually there, if they're having to touch it, pick it up, that sort of thing, the weight often isn't there, the movements often don't match up, and the eyes, you know that they know it's not there, and because you know they know it's not there, it doesn't look like it's there. And that's going to be a massive challenge for bending, right? Because bending is so physical. It has so many elements attached to... I didn't even mean to... No, I did mean to say that. It's so physical, right? It's got such a strong connection between the actual physical actions people take and what happens. It's hard. It was not done particularly well. Particularly well. That's one way of saying it. Still getting flashbacks, man. And again, this is gonna be, do they lean hard into the kind of like more unreal elements of bending? Because the martial arts stuff is so important, so fundamental, and I hope they do it well. I hope that connection is there. But I'm going to have to be flexible with it, you know? I'm going to have to kind of be a little bit forgiving, I think, because it's not going to have the biggest budget in the world, and it's a hard thing to animate. One thing that I know people are going to be worried about is, of course, you know, ages ago, the original creators of The Last Airbender, Bryan Konietzko and Mike DiMartino, they left the Netflix series. They were on board, but they ended up leaving the series and starting their own thing, Avatar Studios. They're making their own bunch of films. That's awesome. That's great. They'll come in the future. We'll talk about that when it comes. And I get why people are apprehensive about that. That does also worry me a little bit. Yeah, that's on my mind. But I want to emphasize that people leave projects all the time for complicated reasons that are often got nothing to do with what we sort of conjure in the cultural zeitgeist when discussing it, you know. They cited creative differences and like not having the control that they wanted over the project. And I totally respect that. I don't know what those creative differences were. I don't know what kind of control they really wanted over the series. But it's also important to remember that they were not the only people that made The Last Airbender great. In fact, some of the best pieces were done by Elizabeth and Aaron Haas, who they came up with Zuko's character arc. They wrote many of the best episodes, and they aren't on board with this either. Like, they're not part of the series. They haven't really spoken about the Netflix series at all. People leaving projects is often a lot of background story that we do not know, and we will probably never know. But I get why people are thinking about it. The people still involved, though, do seem really passionate and do seem to care about the series, and so take from that what you will. Also, like, guys, it's a teaser trailer. It's not meant to show you anything. Like, I've seen people being like, oh, they couldn't show us anything. And it's like, yeah, they weren't meaning to show you anything. Teaser trailers always happen way before anything else. Anyways, tell me what you think. I'm sorry for the mess of this video. I know I don't usually post messy videos, but the timeline requires... go ahead. Tell me down below. What do you think? Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you cautious? Are you skeptical? I'm very skeptical, but I recognize that there's a lot of people who are very passionate about this and they want to do it well. And I'm hopeful. I know this is not much to go on, and I know a lot of people also just feel, why did this need to be made in the first place? Sure, I get it, but it's coming, and regardless of that, I think this is a good first look. Stay nerdy, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.